time for me to try and justify putting Age of the Primes Air Raid on my top 10 of 2025 list. I feel like I already did. In the list itself, I mean. Because it's just a huge nostalgia thing for me. But I think also taking on his own merits, he's just a cool little guy. I get that he's the same, like he's basically the same mold as what was the other one's name? It's not Firefly. Not Slingshot. Is it Skydive? Maybe? I don't know. Point is, I know this is the same figure effectively as the other guy that turns into a leg, the gray one. But I just really like this. Now, if you didn't watch the top 10 video, well, first, I'm disappointed in you, but second, basically, the whole reason that I'm talking about Air Raid and just Air Raid is because I don't have that much of an interest in Superion, or I should say, I don't have enough interest to spend the money required to get Superion. Funds are much less intense than they used to be, so I've had to be much, much pickier with the stuff that I get. So, like, as interesting as I think Superion looks as a whole, as much as I think Silverbolt actually does kind of look neat, I'm just not doing Superion. So sorry for anyone who wants to see that or wants my thoughts on that. I just have Air Raid. I just want Air Raid, so we're talking about Air Raid. But the reason I only have Air Raid, aside from the aforementioned money thing, is because nostalgia. The other aforementioned thing. What I mean by that is, like I said in the video for the Party Wallop, which is now Metalhead, much like the original Ninja Turtles Metalhead figure, Air Raid was one of those toys that I tended to default back to when I was a kid. He wasn't necessarily my favorite toy ever. I had others that I really liked. I really liked G2 Grimlock. And of course, there's Metalhead and the original Dino Megazord that was just the Megazord when it came out, that kind of stuff. But something about Air Raid, he just was always my favorite Aerialbot of the ones that I had. And I didn't pay any attention to the fiction, I just liked him the most as a toy. I think it was the black and white color scheme, even though the transformation was really simple. I just liked carrying him around and messing with him. And so I really wanted to get the Power of the Primes version because of that nostalgia thing. Or Power of the Primes, Age of the Primes version because of the nostalgia. And right off the bat, I really like this guy. I do not like this configuration. This is how they kind of show him on the box. I don't like this. I mean, it's fine, but this is not my preferred way to do it. I think maybe what you're supposed to do is you fold the wings in, and there are actually tabs on the sides here that go into the wings, and that closes that up. And I definitely prefer that over the wings sticking out, because he just looks like a boxy man with a plane on his back. So by folding that up, it hides the wings, but then you still have the cone, which I'm not a big fan of either. So I just continue transforming the backpack as though we were going into combine mode, and I pop down the nose cone on that hinge that, again, is just there for the combine mode. But I pop that down because this really just barely sticks out any further than the wingtips do when they're folded back anyway. And now he just kind of looks like a boxy robot man in general, with a scrunched up plane on his back, but like it's more like a backpack than he's actually wearing it like some kind of weird hang glider flying squirrel contraption. And I just like this best, where he just looks like a little robot man. I don't know, I love this. As you can see, I do have the repro labels on him, so that's also a factor. But like just in base terms, I really like the black and white overall color scheme with like that shock of red in the torso, because when you turn him into a plane, that big chunk of red is, it's on the bottom, so you still see it, but like if you're looking at him from the top, you don't have that. So I just like that contrast and like the colors and stuff and how it changes the overall color layout of this guy, because the plane mode is basically just black. So yeah, that's cool. The repro labels I really love because they add a lot of metallic-y, shiny, toy-ish detail. And I just love how this all comes together, where now you've got these bits of gold in a few places, like the shoulders, the forearms, the knees, the shins, even a little bit on the toes, but then that's mixed in with like silver and red. And of course, the red, when it shows up elsewhere, kind of harkens back to the torso. So there's just a lot of really nice G1 toy style-ish stickers that really help to make this guy awesome. I'm trying to remember if I put stickers over the eyes. I don't think I did, but I might have. They are very shiny, so maybe I did. I don't know. But point is, I just think Air Raid's neat. Again, I like that he's just a boxy robot man. I really, really like how the toy stickers, the toy style stickers, add little bits of interest in both terms of color and just shaping and texture to, like visual texture to the other parts of the figure. It's spaced out really nicely, and I just absolutely love this. And I really do like how if you tuck the backpack away, from the front at least, it all but completely hides the plain stuff. He has his weapons, which are just two of these long pistol things, which are things. I think they look nice in his hands and stuff, but they're not anything spectacular. But I kind of feel like that fits because he's really aesthetically not anything spectacular. He's just, as I said many times now, a boxy robot man. So I don't know. I think thematically it works. But I really like that. Now, let's look at that head. So the head is a little bit more interesting than the body, arguably, in that it's this strange combination of shapes. Like, it's mostly curvy with this dome up top and these sort of curved sides that come up in almost like Batman cowl ears or something like that, which is kind of funny. But then you've got this very angular, almost like the tip, like the end of a nut for a screw type visor going over his head. It's a strange design, but I do dig it for what it is. And like facially, it's just a gray humanoid face with these shiny blue eyes. It's just, I feel like if you ignore the helmet around it, this face doesn't really look any different than, say, Grapple or Quake or Bone Crusher if he wasn't wearing sunglasses. And again, that nondescriptness I actually kind of dig. Maybe I'm reaching, I don't know. I'm only saying how I feel about it, but like, I like it. And like the light gray on the white, I do actually think works pretty well. And I do like too that the light gray that's all you get. And like that face is like the only light gray you get on the figure. I like when they separate things out like that. You know, for his articulation, it's, I guess, common articulation for a modern deluxe. The head is on a ball joint that can not look down but can look up a bit, and then you can also use the transformation hinge for the combine mode to hinge it way back. You probably don't want to go that far back, but you can get some pretty decent up without breaking things too badly there. You get no real side to side just because of how deeply recessed that ball is in the socket, but he does look all the way around. The arms can kind of go all the way around, but you have to bring them out in order to clear the bits of the backpack that stick out. And go out a little bit past 90, you get full bicep rotation. The elbows bend very slightly past 90. You get a waist rotation that kind of almost goes all the way around. It's there is actually a cut in here to allow for this to go, but like this doesn't feel like it's on solidly. I don't know if you can see that that's wiggling a little bit. That's kind of weird, but I haven't seen a way to make sure it stays attached properly, so I don't know, but this can go all the way around if you want it to. The hips can go forward to a little bit past 90, can go back to, well, all this stuff is able to get out of the way, almost 90. Can go out to very slightly past 90. You get that thigh swivel, and then knee bend to just, like, I think it's just very, very, very slightly under 90 degrees, very slightly. But you can actually angle the legs forward a little bit, which looks awkward from the front, but I feel like, or from the side rather, but I feel like if you angle the hips back a bit, while angling the knees forward a little bit, it can still look pretty dynamic, which is how I had them before. And then lastly, for the feet, you also get some forward motion. No backward, just because of the heel whacking into the back of the calf here, but you do get that forward, and then you get some kind of absolutely ridiculous ankle tilt. Very nicely posable for deluxe. No wrist articulation to speak of, but you can, if the gun isn't there, you can push the wrist in if you want. I don't know. But yeah, it's, like I said, kind of typical deluxe, modern deluxe articulation, but I'm okay with that. I think it's pretty cool. Yeah, you can get pretty darn dynamic with this guy. And as I said before, I just think he looks neat. I kind of really dig his simplicity. When it comes to height, he's a modern deluxe, so he is a little bit shorter than a tall deluxe, but much bigger than a Blockies figure. Take that for what you will. And now to turn this guy into a jet. It is a little bit more involved than his G1 figure. So I'm going to take the guns out of his hands, straighten out the elbows, rotate the head 180 while I'm thinking of it, and push the fists in. They only go in that far, but that's all they need to go in. And then the arms come in and actually peg into the sides of the torso. The legs can peg together. I'm going to straighten out those ankles. And now the entire shin pops up along with the foot, and the foot tucks back and tabs into the inside of the shin. And now I'm going to straighten out the legs. The shins fold up, and these bits here will tab over the thighs. And that also helps to kind of make sure the legs are lined up properly. Now, before we do this bit here, we're going to do the top. So we're going to fold down the wings, fold this back into place. And I mean, if you transform him the way the instructions want you to, you don't even really have to deal with that. But you fold down the wings, and there are grooves here that will go over these tabs on the backs of the forearms to make sure that those forearms stay in place. And now this entire section untabs, and you kind of want to, you don't want to pull back like this, you want to push it forward and pull up from the bottom here. And that kind of leverages it out much more easily. Because if you're going back down, if you try to go this way, it kind of gets stuck. You actually want to come in at an angle and push it in like that. But anyway, bring this up. This comes around, and then there are these two tabs here that go just around the head. And that closes all that off, and you've got all the, you know, we're pretty much done. So now this will hinge up on a double hinge, come around, and you kind of want to angle this back so that this corner can clear up here, but get this around here, and then this will just push down and line up with everything else going on back here. Fold out the tail fins, flip these around, and that's it. That is Air Raid. Though there is one more thing to do, or that you can do, and that is pull out the landing gear, which I don't like doing without the use of a spudger because it's pretty stiff, but there's this bit here, you just pry that out, and that gives you the front landing gear. That's just a chunk of plastic, but he's a deluxe, so I'm not really bothered by that. And then also, if you want, you can plug the guns under the wings, or you could plug them back here if you really want. They stick down further than the base, so maybe don't do that, but you can. I guess it would work if he was flying. But yeah, there is Air Raid in jet mode. I will admit Air Raid's jet mode is a little bit on the unfortunate side when you look at it from any angle, but like the top or sort of from an angle like this. If you look at it from the side or underneath, it is a bit more of a mess, but it's an Aerialbot. I don't really have a problem with the with that being a little bit off. I'm noticing now these stickers stick out very slightly on the edges here. I don't like that, but that's on me. I'm the one who put them there. Anyway, This is, for what it is, again, kind of dire, and this kind of looks like it sticks up a little too far. It kind of makes the jet look like it's going on a zigzaggy stair pattern going up. But again, when you look at it from here or from here, it doesn't look bad. And I really like, I mentioned this in the robot mode, I really like how the red and the predominantly white from the robot kind of disappears in the jet mode when you're looking at it from this angle. Obviously it's still there and not exactly hidden, but like from this angle, you're pretty much just seeing the black with a little bit of white and some red accents and some gold and stuff because of the stickers now for the jet mode. And I just think that's neat. The shape, I feel like the silhouette from the top is relatively solid, just from the top. Again, not from any other angle, but I don't know what to say. I really like this. It reminds me a lot of the G1 toy, deco-wise. There's so many stickers on this thing that I had to add myself because of the repro label sheet. Like the arrows on the underside here, which are slightly off center, which, oh well. The bits along the sides. The yellow, anything yellow and red is basically something I added myself from the repro labels set. Even these bits back here and like on the sides here and back here. So yeah, this, I don't know. It's a simple figure. I totally understand why not everyone is going to be like, oh, this is amazing. But for me, it really hits that nostalgia. And in addition to hitting that nostalgia, it's that right level of simple but interesting. Like how the shins and legs basically turn inside out to cover up the thighs for the jet mode. Like, I just think that's, I don't know, it's simple, but it's very clever and interesting. And now, when it comes to size, he is a modern deluxe, so he's roughly modern deluxe size, but he is also a jet, so most of the mass is kind of in this spot here, with bits just kind of sticking off to the sides and front. Quake, on the other hand, compacts extremely solidly, and you don't really have anything sticking off in various directions. Granted, this looks way more like a jet than this looks like a tank. But yeah, I mean, also Quake is kind of a massive deluxe, so even though they're visually close in size, Quake is still much bigger. And I don't know, I think that's kind of all I can say about Age of the Prime's Air Raid. This probably isn't convincing anyone to go out and get this figure, but I don't really care. I just like him. For me, this is fantastic. This is not a super fancy figure by any means, and thank goodness for that. I actually, as I said, really like the simplicity here, but there's some bits that are actually really clever, really, really cool. Also, these tail fins are just pegged in, so you can take them off if you wanted to. But it's a simple but clever transformation. It kind of has to be because he ultimately just balls up as a jet to make the back of Superion's shins. So I kind of feel like he doesn't have a whole lot going for him outside of Superion. And it's entirely possible that most people are just going to pass him by or turn him into a shin chunk and leave him like that. But I just really like him as a standalone figure. He's a solid modern deluxe. He doesn't overcomplicate things. He doesn't undercomplicate things. I don't know. He's, for what I wanted, for what he is, very cool. I suppose that makes me a bit of a hypocrite because I always bemoan the fact that everyone's trying to do G1 again, and again, but I'm also like, oh, this reminds me of the G1 toy I had. But in fairness to myself, most of the ad nauseum G1 we've been getting, especially from official channels, has been cartoon focused. And I do not have the same nostalgia for the cartoon that a lot of people have. For me, it's the toys, which is why I really like how the repro labels bring out like the toy deco really in this figure. And I think this works incredibly well in that regard. And once again, as I said, like for most people, this is probably a nothing figure. For me, though, I love this. He's just fun to mess with, and he tickles my brain in the, I was a child and loved this kind of thing this exact character thing way. But anyway, that's enough of me not adequately explaining myself. What do you all think of Age of the Primes Air Raid, or Superion, the Aerialbots, whatever? Because I don't think the Aerialbots look bad or anything like that. I actually would like, I'd like to get Superion if it wouldn't cost like $200. Because I don't have $200 to spend on something. I don't want that much. I really don't have $200 to spend, period, right now. But point is, whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And I think I've got one more video in me for this recording session, and I think it's finally time to talk about why I love Quake so much.